Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 51, featuring the top 5 ships, part 2. Welcome back, Star Trek fans. We are picking this episode straight up from where we left off on episode 50 and part 1 of our top 5 ships. Except this time we're not talking about spaceships. We're talking about relationships, and more accurately, those ships that you long to see through 50 plus years of Star Trek. And as we did in part 1, we have Charlynn Schmiedt and Bill Mann joining us again. Because this is part 2 of this episode, we're going to skip the TrekRanks recalibration because, you guys know how to find us. Well, you can find us at TrekRanks and at Enterprise Extra, but everything else, you can go back and listen to part 1 before you listen to this episode. So we're going to skip our diagnostic cycle as well, and we're jumping straight into our Prime Directives right now.
Ooh, I like it. We're going straight to the good stuff.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our Prime Directive.
Define Prime Directive.
All right, so I cannot wait to hear you guys' Prime Directives on this topic, because I feel like for a topic like ships, Prime Directive could literally be anything. You could restrict it to relationships that we never even got a whiff of, or maybe they're relationships that were teased a little bit, but you wanted to see more of, or it could even be just full-fledged relationships that you saw in their entirety on screen. So, yeah, it could be anything, and I'm excited to hear how you guys define your top 5 ships, apostrophe SHIPS. So, Char, let's start with you. What's your Prime Directive in defining your picks tonight?
All right. So the way I approached this one was, which ones do I ship? Which romances do I care about? Which ones do I like? Which ones matter the most to me? The qualifier has to be that there had to have at least been some actual feelings there. It can't be some random pairing that I made up in my own universe and wrote fanfic about when I was 15. No, there had to have been something real there, if not a full-fledged relationship.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear your list. Bill, how about you? How did you define your ships?
I, too, stayed away from like fantasy pairings, fanfic kind of stuff. Everything that I have on my list are relationships that are either consummated or very much out there in the open. The feelings are out there in the open, at least. So, yeah, I stuck with things that were more official, and a lot of it came down to gut, kind of like the ships did for me, the actual ships. There's a lot to choose from here. There's quite a few. If you really parse it down, there's been a lot of romance in Star Trek over the years, some one-offs, some longer arcs. So I kind of just, at the end of the day, went with, okay, which ones do I like the most? And whittled it down from there.
Okay.
These will be very personal.
Very personal.
I just want to add, qualifier, fanfic did matter.
Yeah.
Just a little bit to my list. You'll understand why as we go through this.
Can't wait.
All right, I just want to say, Bill, that these are real ships.
They are real ships.
Okay,
true.
buddy. All right, so my Prime Directive, the first thing I tried to do, I think, was, at least it's what I wanted to do when I started. I was going to pick a lot of ships that you didn't really see fully on screen. Maybe there's just a little tease or a hint. A lot of those relationships out there that I liked and maybe wanted to see a little more of. And I picked my 5 favorites. So this is going to be an awesome show. Let's get to it. Third Ramadaclon. It's time to update us on the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
All right. So let's get into part 2 of our ship picks. And again, we're going to go through our top 5 ships as in relationships, and as we always do on the order of things, with our original Trek rank 5 words and a hashtag to tease our pick. Then we'll reveal our top 5 ship, and we'll each identify one episode that we think best defines that particular ship. And at the end, we'll rattle off a few secondary system selections for the picks that maybe just missed our list. And as always, if we have any duplicates tonight, you'll know it when you hear the Defiant Torpedoes. All right, we'll see if we have any duplicates. It'd be very interesting to see. So, Char, let's start with you again. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 ships?
Okay. 5 words are longing looks, not enough execution, #Bonsi, which I will explain if you don't know the reference. And this is Picard and Crusher.
Oh.
The Bonsi hashtag stands for Beverly on Jean-Luc, which was a big thing in its heyday in the mid-90s. There was a group called Bonsi that was devoted toward this relationship.
Wait, how do you spell Bonsi?
B-O-N-C. Capital B,
okay.
Lowercase o, lowercase n, capital C.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Wait, it's on, with the C is for captain?
No, Jean-Luc. Very end, C.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's in depth.
It's a little bit of a stretch, but you do what you can in the internet world. And so I picked this couple because, they occasionally acknowledged feelings for one another, but in my opinion, it wasn't nearly enough. Let's say The Naked Time. That's the episode in particular I'm going to reference with this couple. If they didn't have to save the ship, they definitely would have gotten it on in this episode. Thankfully, fan fiction Usenet forums of the 90s, they told us that those of us who shipped these two were not alone because there was a lot of fanfic out there. And, as TNG went on, the romance never really seemed to go anywhere, and that was a real disappointment, even after Attached, because in the movies, there wasn't anything there. Now, however, they did get married in an alternate universe, and they are married in the novel verse, so we got to take that into account, I guess.
I love this pick. Who doesn't love Jean-Luc with Beverly?
Where there's definitely some feelings going on there, and some panting and some sweating.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. There is definitely some panting and sweating going on there. I love this pick as a starter. It's a classic. Bill, what's your take on Beverly and Jean-Luc?
I don't want to say too much, but I agree with the pick.
Okay. All right. Maybe.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Fire the Defiant Torpedoes.
Get them ready.
We'll see how many times Jean-Luc maybe comes up today. Who knows?
Nice.
Okay, Bill, what about you? What's your number 5, top 5 ship?
5 words in a hashtag are freighter captain completes Starfleet captain. Hashtag Mr. and Mrs. Emissary. And it's
Nice.
Ben Sisko and Cassidy Yates.
I love that hashtag.
I love this. I love this aspect of Deep Space Nine, especially early on. I love the fact that Sisko kind of has to reckon with doing this or not. The character's very defined by Jennifer Sisko and what that means and how it happened right from the beginning. And Emissary is all about that. And I love that in episodes like Family Business, she's introduced. And the episode I would choose for this is Indiscretion, where she's kind of talking about moving on to the station and living there. And Sisko's struggling with that idea.
It's a big step.
It's a big step. Yes. I love that whole conversation. It's very adult. It's very mature. It's very real. And it's different than a lot of the stuff that we get in Star Trek relationships, where we're dealing with a widower, dealing with getting back into that game. So yeah. And they get married at the end of the day. They have, very much plays a factor in the rest of the series from that point on. She betrays Starfleet, kind of going with Maquis. Like, it's got ups and downs, it's got ebbs and flows. It's a big storyline in the tapestry of big storylines in Deep Space Nine.
It really is. Says a lot about Ben that he quote unquote forgave her for that.
Yeah, definitely.
She was getting played a little bit there, as we know.
Yeah.
Also, your guys' first 2 picks are tugging at my heartstrings. Those are big classic ships. I love Ben and Cassidy together. I love that Jake set them up. They're just they're a great couple. Char, what's your take?
You just mentioned my favorite thing about this relationship was that Jake set them up. How cute is that?
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah,
it's adorable. Even if it ends with a little bit of heartbreak there. Damn wormhole.
You know, I was never happy with the fact that Ben had to go off and do some profit stuff because he had a child on the way, and it didn't feel right to me.
They were telling so many stories they couldn't pay them all off in ways that didn't adversely affect some of the other stories, and that was one that was adversely affected.
Thank goodness he comes back in the novels.
Yes, and eventually someday in the future, we hope. Hey, we're getting Picard back, so
right? You never know.
Let's go to my round 5 pick. I already hate my list compared to your guys.
Oh, nonsense. What is it?
Oh, no, you are going to regret those words.
Try me.
So I know that this one's just going to piss everybody off, including Char, but I really like them together, and I don't care, so I'm just going to get it away.
Okay, wait.
I'm just going to get it out of the way here.
Oh, crap.
5 pick. 5 words and a hashtag. Tertiary adjunct of Unimatrix Chakotay.
No
hashtag
way.
Coochie Coochie Moya.
No!
7 of 9 in Chakotay. Yes! I like them together. I don't care what anybody says. And I picked the episode Natural Law because I think that was number 1 on my guilty pleasures list. And because of this.
Rightfully so.
I mean, I know that, yes, they just threw this in at the end of season 7 with human error and natural law and endgame. But I don't really care. I thought it was cool. I like them together. I like their chemistry. I'm okay with it, and yeah, I think they had good chemistry. I just like them together. I like Chakotay through 7 seasons, so yeah, have at me, Shar. I know how much you hate this pick.
I'm biting my tongue right now. I'm not saying anything mean. This is TrekRanks.
All right, you have summarized perfectly on this pick. Bill, how about you on Chakotay and 7? Because I don't know if you're a C7 guy or not.
I am not. No.
Please let him have it.
No wrong answers, right?
That's right.
I don't hate human error. I don't hate 7 exploring the idea of it. I do have strong negative feelings about it once it becomes official on screen and endgame. It particularly feels shoehorned into the finale. Like it never feels natural to me when it actually starts happening in any kind of meaningful way.
Thank you, Bill. You just summed it up.
I know I'm on an island on this one. I know that.
It's all right. I love you, Jim. I love the fact that you will go for an unpopular opinion and not care.
I was okay with it. This is before I even knew what shipping was. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Okay. All right, let's get off of this one and let's go to round 4. Shar, what's your number 4 pick?
Okay. 5 words are brushing teeth never looked sexier. # space booze. Yes. And this is Culber and Stamets from Discovery.
And
so, yes, this relationship is important because it's the first portrayal of a long-term committed homosexual relationship on Star Trek. That was overdue. And it does feel like a misstep that Culber was killed in an untimely and meaningless fashion, but we do know at this point that Culber is not gone for good, and therefore the romance for me is somehow still alive. Like, I'm trying really hard, you guys, to trust the writers on this one, and I hope that as Discovery continues, they'll nurture this relationship the way it deserves, because I love the space booze.
I love them too. I have that same faith and belief. I will say that I don't think it was, I can't remember the exact term you used there, but it wasn't a meaningless death, because that one of my favorite scenes, I mean, I love it from the first season of Discovery, is that when he's stuck in that network and it's Hugh that gets the ship home with that open your eyes.
Oh,
comment.
yeah.
I love that moment. Open your eyes. So good. That connection for them in the mycelial network and the mirror universe, I think, was really important and strong. But that's not to say that I understand the people's strong feelings about the death of Culber, but we'll see how it plays out. You know, the season's still, the
Right.
is still going.
Yeah,
So
it's still young.
There's a long narrative to be played out here. So, what episode did you pick?
What is the episode where they are brushing their teeth? I don't even remember.
Choose your pain.
Is it? Okay, thank you. I forgot to put that down in my notes.
Love it. Bill, what's your take on Culber and Stamets?
I love it. I'm glad somebody picked it. I didn't put it on my list. I feel like if the payoff that I think is probably coming is well executed and lands emotionally, this will be on my list if I was doing this a year from now. But for right now, because it's kind of in motion and we don't quite know how it's going to all play itself out, I didn't feel good enough putting it on my list. But I love them for all the historically significant reasons that we all know, and Char, you've laid it out. And because I think both actors are great together. I think that the chemistry is real. It feels like a real relationship when we see them together. It's a great pick.
Oh, they're so good together.
Yeah, for sure.
And you highlighted the best scene. I mean, that scene was really cool.
Yeah.
Even with
I mean, it's real.
It's real. Yeah.
That's what a relationship really is when you're long term. It's not making out and having sex. No, you're brushing your teeth together and having a moment.
Yeah. Just being together.
And don't forget that I think it's still going to play out with, obviously it did with the Mirror Universe, but the end of that scene was that creepy Stamets in the mirror. So
right.
Yeah, it's
I still feel like we don't know fully what this is all about. And that's kind of the fun at this point. It's just, Bill, you mentioned the payoff. There needs to be some serious payoff here.
Yeah. Definitely.
Not a spoiler, but again, actually, we didn't say this for episode 51, and part 1 we mentioned it.
Black alert. Black alert.
We are right now current through Discovery Season 2, Episode 4. My sources tell me Episode 5 might play a bearing on this storyline. So we'll see. Okay, Bill, what is your round 4 pick?
Round 4 pick. I have symbolic coming together of cultures. # matchmaker flux. And it is Trip and T'Pol.
Nice.
Fantastic ship.
I think Enterprise, when you boil it all down, is really about that. It's about how Archer and T'Pol's relationship and T'Pol and Trip's relationship is humanity and Vulcan coming together and forming this cohesive thing that's going to shape the next hundreds of years. And I think this relationship, when it even though, and part of the reason I love it so much, I think, is because it kind of overcomes a really clumsy and silly beginning with the neuropressure. Like, I'm a huge Enterprise guy, but the neuropressure stuff doesn't work for me at all. I think it's ridiculous and over the top and completely silly. But it starts with that, and it somehow manages to build into something that's actually kind of profound and works for the show and feels like a worthwhile thing. But I feel like it's important enough to what Enterprise is ultimately about at the end of the day. I think the actors have really nice chemistry. And I think of the scene at the end of Terra Prime, which would be my episode after, the baby passes away, as being, one of the more emotional moments in Star Trek history. And it's those two characters together, being together in an intimate moment. And it's Paul holding the Idic, holding hands with Trip that's Star Trek, like in its birth. So, yeah.
What? Why are you going to make us cry, man? Man. That is hard to take. Fantastic pick. I love that you guys are going with full-fledged relationships. Mine are a little bit more speculative relationships. That is an awesome pick, and one that I actually didn't even think about, even though I love them together, and would probably be in my romance list. Shar, how about you? What's your take on it?
I ship them. Yes, I do. I mean, Bill, you said it all. It started off a little ridiculous with the stupid neuropressure crap.
Indeed.
But you know what? It did become something more than that. It became a full-fledged, meaningful relationship. And I think back to the very beginning of Enterprise, where Trip and T'Pol wouldn't even shake hands. And then they're mourning the loss of a child they barely even knew. And they're talking about how someday there's going to be another, Vulcan and human child out there. And of course, we're all thinking of Spock.
Right.
and how that's such a bridge for Star Trek, and my heart breaks for them in that moment. And then it's such an important moment for Star Trek in general, forging that idea and just all the feelings associated with that. It's so good.
Thanks.
So this made my secondary system.
That is awesome. All right, let's go to my round four my terrible list compared to your guys' list.
Nonsense. It can only get better from here.
Here we go. Well, this one is it's another speculative ship that I thought would have been cool, and I liked it when it kind of happened. So my number 4 pick, 5 words and a hashtag. Take off that earring, hashtag, and everything else. Boom, chaka, boom, boom. It is Riker and Ro Laren.
Wow.
From Conundrum. Because, I mean, there is so much chemistry between these two, even when they're arguing and hating on each other at the beginning in Ensign Ro, to the fact that they're both have no idea who they are. They have complete amnesia. But within about a few hours, they are banging. I love it. And I say that kind of frivolously, but the reality is the writers really treated that well. I thought I liked the way that came together and that they interacted, and their relationship. It's really highlighted in maybe 3 main episodes. I picked Conundrum, obviously, but Ensign Ro, Conundrum, and then of course Preemptive Strike when he goes on the assignment with her. She basically betrays him and Picard and the whole crew. So I don't know. I like their fast hookup. I like their chemistry. And I like the way they're both pretty adult about it at the end. It's like, all right, well, that happened. So anybody got a take on Riker and Ro together?
Sure. I'll liken it to a Sigmund Freud quote and tie it in. Sometimes a one-night stand is a one-night stand. And you know what? That's hot.
Right. Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah, well done, guys.
Bill, anything?
I'm impressed that you somehow came up with the little mini arc of Ensign Ro, Conundrum, and Preemptive Strike. That's amazing. This never occurred to me, but when you frame it that way, it's like, wow, like that actually is. There's a little story there, and there's 3 episodes. So it's really cool. It's a hell of a marathon. 3 good episodes, though.
I love it. All right. My list sucks, you guys.
Nonsense. That's a great pick.
Not at all.
All right. Let's go to the soup round 3. Char, what do you got?
Okay. I'm not terribly happy with this 5 words. I feel like it deserves better, but I'll say it anyway. A romance for the ages. I know. So mediocre. So glib. Hashtag, a little more specific, Edith Keeler must die. And it is James T. Kirk and Edith Keeler.
Oh my God. I can't believe I didn't think of this one.
Dude.
I love them together. This is my new number 1 pick.
Seriously? Okay. I was really on the fringe about this was either going to be number 3 or number 1. And I went back and forth on this about 5 times. I kid you not. Like, I agonized over my list. Okay, so it ultimately ended up number 3. But seriously, of all the women that Kirk romanced in the original series, this is the one that sticks out because, it's probably because of the way that Kirk had to let it go by letting Edith die, thus restoring the timeline. If your heart doesn't break, check your frickin' pulse, okay? Are you alive? Are you a human being? Seriously, how can you not feel something when you watch this? If it had been any other circumstance, Edith might have rivaled the Enterprise for Kirk's everlasting love. That's saying a lot. You can see their souls connected, and in one episode, that is an amazing feat. I give a lot of credit to Harlan Ellison for writing this, although he got massively rewritten. I know the story, but then also William Shatner and Joan Collins for their portrayal of these characters. They did such a great job. They made it so believable. They made it there. They put it there. And it's one of the classic Star Trek romances, I feel.
It's the classic Star Trek romance. It's hard to talk about.
It is.
Absolutely fantastic pick. I have picked The City on the Edge of Forever many times. I picked Edith Keeler on, I can't remember what topic it was, but I love this pick. I can't believe I didn't think of it for this one. Bill, what's your take on this? I know how much you love City on the Edge of Forever, as do I.
It's my favorite episode of all of Star Trek, and I would like to withhold comment for maybe about 10 seconds.
Oh, boy.
Oh, let's go. Let's move in there. Bill, what's your 5 words and a hashtag?
5 words and a hashtag. Jim, Edith Keeler must die. Hashtag the day is worth living for. It is Kirk and Edith Keeler. Everything you said is true, Char. I love the fact that Kirk falls in love with her when she's standing there delivering a sermon that's like straight out of the Church of Gene Roddenberry. Like,
right?
She is talking about the Star Trek future. It's meta in that way, and it makes perfect sense that he would fall head over heels. This is a woman out of time. She would fit more in the 23rd century than she does in 1931.
Right? Yeah, they connect over the fact that honestly, she sees things the way that he sees the world. And she is really forward thinking in her vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what makes me love it so much. I love that that's the connection. It's that hope for the future that Kirk knows is going to be a reality. She's just not going to be there to see it.
Right.
She should have been like Jillian was, moving into the future with Kirk. She could have functioned in the future.
Oh, man, my fanfic brain is just spinning right now.
It's the best episode of all time from Star Trek, all 6 shows now, in my opinion. I think it's certainly like a cliche answer to that question, but I don't think it makes it any less true because I think it has it all, and that relationship is at the core of it. I love Kirk and Edith Keeler walking either to or from a Clark Gable movie, talking about, looking up at the stars, talking about, let me help is going to become like the 3 words like I love you is now.
Yeah.
Like it's going to become more universal and more, I don't know. I just love all of those scenes together with them. And obviously the tragedy of it and the way it all plays out make it all the more powerful. But to me, like I think about them being together as much as I do the tragedy that comes at the end, which is easy to think about because it is very powerful. But I think their scenes together are strong enough and the chemistry is strong enough between the 2 actors and 2 characters that it really sells you on the relationship.
Oh, exactly. I mean, without that, her death means nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
2 awesome picks. I love that you guys picked that. And what's so funny about reaching for the stars? I love Edith Keeler.
She's so great. I want to be her friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, let's go to my crappy round 3.
Crappy.
I'm going to bring it down here.
All right, Downer, what do you got?
Oh, this is awesome. This is actually so unfitting for this glorious round of A City on the Edge of Forever. My 5 words and a hashtag. The aquarium of my soul. Hashtag seeking the kelp of discontent. It's Quark and Grilka from Super Parma in all the wrong places. I love this relationship. These 2 are the best. And again, you can tell that I'm picking relationships that were just kind of teased and not necessarily super prominent via my Prime Directive.
I claim the right of proclamation.
I've never heard of the right of proclamation.
It is a Ferengi custom. It has no place here. I beg to differ.
What do you need to do?
I must make a speech.
About what?
About you. To this end, my blade soars through the aquarium of my soul, seeking the kelp of discontent, which must be cut, so that the rocky bottom of love lie in waiting with fertile sand for the coming seed of Grilka's affection.
Grilka is awesome. I mean, listen, I actually think the 2 of them together is pretty hot. I'm totally down with it. I think they're a great couple. And I love at one point when Grilka says, "Why do you pursue me?" and Quark says, "Because you're an object of great value." I don't know. I totally buy these 2 together in House of Quark and Looking for Parma. Plus, it helped, get Jadzia and Worf to hook up. So it's another awesome ship.
It's true.
Definitely.
So that is my round 3 pick. Quark and Grilka in comparison to Edith Keeler and James Kirk. Great pick, Moorhouse. What's your guys' take on Quark and Grove?
Hey, you know what? I love it in contrast to the seriousness that is Kirk and Edith Keeler for a little bit of levity here,
Indeed.
which we need. And you know what? This is a great relationship. I like these two as well. It's fun. I think they complement each other in really needed ways. Like, really, if they would have stuck with it, I could see these two working out.
Agreed. They do really complement each other well. I don't know. It's some reason it really works for me. Bill, what's your take on these two?
I love it too. I love both of those episodes, House of Quark and Looking for Parmak in all the wrong places. I love the way that relationship evolves over the course of those two episodes. It's a lot of fun. Like Char said, a lot of the ones that she and I are picking are a little more heavy, maybe. And this is a legitimately fun one. Like, it's not even just like fun to think about in a kind of a, it'd be neat if we saw this kind of thing, but we did see it and it was fun. It's definitely a good thing.
You guys are heavy. I would say they're solid relationships. Mine are speculative relationships.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Jim.
No.
That's the difference in Prime Directive. I love it because when I've always heard of ships, that's kind of what I think of. Like, what's kind of in the outlier, not the in your face. Okay.
Quark and Grilka are not speculative though. That is a consummated relationship.
As is Riker and Ro, but we didn't see a lot.
That's right.
I guess we didn't see a lot. I guess what I meant.
I mean,
Fair
there's fanfic for all of us here.
I love it. Okay, let's go to round 2. Shar, what's your number 2 pick?
Okay, 5 words. He likes her Klingon side. Hashtag everyone on Deck 9 can hear. It's Tom Paris and B'Elanna Torres.
Yes! They're in my secondary systems. I love Tom and B'Elanna together.
I do too, because, I don't know, up to this point in Trek lore, we did not see many long-term relationships portrayed on screen. And really, the one that we did get, which was Miles and Keiko, that was not always popular with the fans. And I feel like with Tom and B'Elanna, along with Worf and Dax concurrent, that's where they kind of got long-term Star Trek relationships correct. And I like the fact that it's a slow lead up. They flirt, they bicker, they nearly have to have sex or she will die. That's how it goes in Star Trek, whatever. And, it's just usual courtship stuff. And in the end, it worked. And what might have seemed like an unlikely pairing at the beginning of the series became one of my favorite parts of the show, which is saying a lot. So this couple, though, they complement each other really well. They keep each other grounded. They challenge each other in good ways. And that's something that they both need. And that's what makes them so solid. And that's what makes it fun to watch them and watch them grow together. And that's the biggest reason why they rank so high on my list, is the fact that they do grow together and they do make this thing work. And it's a lot of fun to watch, in my opinion.
Could not agree more. They were on my secondary systems. Day of Honor, where they finally kind of confess their love for each other, or their want for each other. I love that episode. It's top 10 on the Voyager TrekRanks. Fantastic pick. Oh, what episode did you pick?
I picked Day of Honor. So there you go. It's done.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jim.
Bill, what's your take on these two?
I got a withhold comment again. You're going to have to load those torpedoes pretty soon here.
Fantastic. Let's go to your number 2 pick then.
My number 2 pick is 5 words and a hashtag complex. Will they, won't they? And it's hashtag deep history. And it is Picard and Crusher.
Oh,
yeah. I hear everything you said, Char, about how much is kind of left on the bone with this. There's a lot left unexplored because it's not on the forefront of the show for a lot of the time. But I love the complicated set of circumstances that kind of lead up to us meeting them on the ship. That Picard's best friend was her ex-husband, or her husband, who passed away in an accident. And there's something adult about that. The reckoning of that mutual attraction that's always kind of there, but a set of circumstances keep them apart. And attached would be my episode. The premise of that episode, putting 2 people that are in that kind of situation into this situation where they're mentally linked and they can read each other's thoughts. They know exactly what each other's thinking. That's a horrifying idea. In actuality, it would be terrifying to have the person that is in, that you've been thinking about for so long, knowing what you're thinking.
I'm not sure whether we should go over this hill or that one. The topography on this map is a little vague.
Let me see. This way.
You don't really know, do you?
What?
I mean, you're acting like you know exactly which way to go, but you're only guessing. Do you do this all the time?
No, but there are times when it is necessary for a captain to give the appearance of confidence.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist.
I'm beginning to realize that you always seem to have some acerbic remark on the tip of your tongue.
I totally realize that there's not much of an emotional payoff to the relationship that really isn't even really a relationship, but I like that character dynamic a lot. It makes me long for a situation where you could see it play out in in the parallel universe and all good things. Like, I'd love to know, like, how did attached maybe lead into a marriage, and did the marriage that Picard knows about and all good things keep Picard from starting anything in our timeline, knowing how that was going to play out. I don't know. There's a lot to think about there. There's a lot of mental stuff to play with. It's not a lot of on-screen continuity there, but I like the implications of their history and how it all kind of somewhat plays out.
Yeah, I like the way you framed it. Is there's so much left on the table.
Yeah, it's complicated. I like that it's a complicated thing. It's not just a simple, like, they meet and they kind of have a thing for each other, but the timing's never right. Like, you get that a lot in TV, but I like that there's a real history there, and it's complicated. It's hard to define why they can't and why it might work or why it might not. I think it's real in that sense.
Yeah, their Facebook status is chronically complicated. Yeah.
Char, any more Picard Crusher takes?
Are you ready to censor something?
Sure.
I wish they just would have been buddies. That's all I gotta say.
I don't disagree with that, and I'm going to refrain from commenting. Okay.
I'm sorry, Jim.
No. You'll find out why.
Oh, my.
Let's go to round 9, number 2 pick. All right, this one I like. Okay. It's another speculative. I guess that's good words in. 5 words in a hashtag. Vulcan has no moons, Miss Uhura. Hashtag I'm not surprised. And it is Spock and Uhura from the original series. I love these two together. I chose Charlie X as my episode.
Wow.
I'm going to start with
fascinating.
Because when the Kelvin timeline surprised everyone by having Spock and Uhura in a relationship, I wanted to stand up in the movie theater and cheer. I was so excited because I'm sorry, if you watched TOS like I did, I always thought, there's so many sparks there between those two. I loved it from some of those early TOS episodes. So when people were saying how that breaks canon, it's like totally out of left field. I was like, what are you talking about? There's a couple of great scenes between them. One from the Man Trap, which I'm going to play for you right now.
Mr. Spock, sometimes I think if I hear that word frequency once more, I'll cry.
Cry?
I was just trying to start a conversation.
Well, since it is illogical for a communications officer to resent the word frequency, I have no answer.
No, you have an answer. I'm an illogical woman who's beginning to feel too much a part of that communications console. Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady, or ask me if I've ever been in love? Tell me how your planet Vulcan looks on a lazy evening when the moon is full.
Vulcan has no moon, Miss Uhura.
I'm not surprised, Mr. Spock.
I love that moment between those two. I love when she's singing on the Starship Enterprise and Charlie X. And I didn't even know what a ship was, but when I was 15 years old, I thought Spock and Uhura should be together. I love those two. So curious what your guys' take on that one is. Bill.
I'm fascinated. I agree. I think I can't claim credit for spotting these things and thinking about it before the 2009 movie, but post that movie, going back and watching The Man Trap and Charlie X, it's like, hey, there's some DNA there, and of course, totally into him in those scenes. So yeah, I think it's a cool, like, deep cut kind of pick, because it's speculative. It never really amounts to much in a real way, but I love the way that the 2009 movie kind of retroactively makes that even more of a real possibility in the Prime timeline.
Yeah, it definitely accounts for it in the Kelvin timeline,
yeah.
which I loved. Shar, what's your take on Spock and Uhura?
Hey, I'm digging it. I mean, it's been a little while since I've watched a lot of the original series. I really need to go back and just really see this for myself. I wouldn't say that it's out of left field. No, there's definitely moments there, like you pointed out. But I always shipped Spock with Christine Chappell. Maybe that's just my wishful thinking, but that's just me. Because she wanted it so bad.
Yeah, that's almost like a nervous system.
I mean, I can really empathize with that. I mean, she made him soup, for crying out loud.
I know.
And he just threw it against the corridor. So, you know... That said, though, this is not an unfounded relationship. There's definitely little flirtatious moments there. There's a semblance of something there. I never totally put it together, but that doesn't mean it's not there. So, yeah, props. I'm with it.
Love it. Okay, let's go to round one. Here are our top 5 ships. So, Shar, what's your number 1?
All right, here we go. 5 words are all that could have been. #JC forever. It's Janeway and Chakotay. I don't care that this was never a real relationship. It was real to me in a million fanfics. I love them.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
I do not care how predictable of a pick this is. Okay? I love them. When I was 15 and writing fanfic, all I thought about was Janeway and Chakotay. When I was supposed to be paying attention in, I don't know, English, science class, whatever it was I was supposed to be taking, I was writing fanfic on my notepad. I was thinking Janeway Chakotay 24/7, and there were many reasons for that. There were a lot of flirtatious reasons. And you know what? They gave us a lot of things to work with, but they never followed through. I'm pissed. And I'm going to end it there before I get on a rant.
Oh, my gosh. Your number 1 picks for part 1 and part 2 of top 5 ships are spectacularly awesome and define you as a Star Trek fan.
I mean, if you know anything about me, this is not a surprise at all.
I love it. Bill, what's your take on Janeway and Chakotay, the speculative relationship that we never really saw?
It's first and foremost on my secondary systems. I love this. People who criticize Voyager for not having continuity are crazy. It's there, and this is the prime example of it. Chakotay, at every point that they're at, like a crossroads, do we stay or do we go? He's kind of down to stay, because staying on a Delta Quadrant planet with Janeway is not such a bad thing for him. He's totally down to do that. He on top of that, I just love that whole story arc, even without like the romantic element of it. I think Chakotay is down to stay in the Delta Quadrant because I think he thinks that, well, first off, I don't think he thinks that going back to the Alpha Quadrant necessarily means good things are going to happen to the people he's the caretaker of, the Maquis people. And I think he thinks, especially as the show goes on, that his Maquis crew is the best versions of them that they've ever been. This is a group of ragtag people who had no place in the universe, and now they're on the ship and living a good life and in a good place. And he's first officer to the woman he loves but can't really do anything with. So if they end up living on a planet somewhere, it's all going to work out for him. I love this, and it's there through the whole show. So
and really,
totally,
chronically, I think that's Chakotay's plan all along. Is like he got a taste of it on New Earth, and he's like, you know what? If that happened again, I would not be sorry.
No, and Scorpion, he's totally leaning towards like we should just turn around and.
God, yeah.
So I'm assuming your episode is resolutions.
I might cite that. There's others I can cite. Would you like me to continue?
Okay.
I mean, if there's anything I know, it's this shit.
I love it, and I love them together as well. I love everybody together.
I mean, really, even in what is it, Shattered, where like season 1, pre-caretaker Janeway says, "Just how close do we get?"
Yes,
he is such a gentleman, and he says, "Well, there's barriers we have not crossed." And, he could have taken that moment and he could have just frickin' laid it on her and said, hey, what of it? He didn't, knowing who she was at that point. But damn, if it wasn't tempting.
Yeah. I love the little beat in Unimatrix Zero Part 1, too, where she's getting ready to get up to go on the Delta Flyer to do the thing. And they hold hands and have that look. Like, that's great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hello, PDA a little bit, like in front of the entire bridge crew, they're holding hands and he's talking about cleaning the carpets. I mean, how much more romantic do you want to get here, okay? He's talking about cleaning house while she's out away doing hero stuff.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great material. Okay?
Appropriate number 1 ship.
Oh my God, you guys, the fanfic. The amount of fanfic in the mid-90s concerning these two.
Endless.
I mean, it was a little alarming, but it was there, and I read every page of it.
Okay.
I consumed it like nothing else. And yes, I did write a lot of it.
All right, Char.
I'm done.
And Chakotay, we love it. Let's go to Bill's number 1 pick. What do you got, Bill?
I have 0G brings out feelings. # long game. And it is B'Elanna and Tom Paris.
Yes.
It is kind of along the same lines that I would talk about Trip and T'Pol on. I think it's the culmination of the show. It's these ragtag people who are kind of lost souls becoming the best versions of themselves because they're together. They are infinitely better people because they're in this situation and they're developing this relationship. And I love the fact, like Shari, you said, it's a slow build up. There's little tea leaves that lead up to it. Even through the end of season 2, beginning of season 3, you're starting to see little teeny things if you're looking for it, well before it becomes an official thing. And I love the fact that you see it play out into a real thing. It's like Jim and Pam in The Office 15 years before Jim and Pam in The Office did it. Like where you actually had to pay off for the relationship. Where TV shows tend to be afraid to do that. They want to leave them in this will they, won't they, like Picard and Crusher kind of status to keep the drama going. And B'Elanna and Tom, they went all the way to getting married and having a child at the very end. I love their arc. I love that it's the long game. It's inherently Voyager. Like it's so core to what that show is, and it's representative of the premise of that show about finding a family wherever you are and making the best of the situation and becoming the best person you can be because of the good people around you. To me, it's the clear number 1. It's the best relationship in Star Trek history.
Well done, sir.
I don't disagree with that at all. I honestly believe it probably is the best relationship in Trek history. It's awesome. And you chose Day of Honor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. No brainer. Such a great pick. Love them together. Char, do you want to add anything more about Janeway and Chakotay?
I mean, how long have you got?
All right, let's go. Great pick, Bill. Let's go to my number 1 pick. 5 words and a hashtag. Archaeological dig to my heart. # you're outrageous. Picard and Vosh.
Nice. Yes, this had to be here.
It had to be my number 1. And earlier when you described Picard and Crusher as wishing they had just been buddies, well, guess what? All right, I love these two together.
Picard's getting some while he's pining for Beverly.
They're so great together. I don't care what anybody says. She is smart. She's independent and confident. She's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. She loves archaeology, which obviously he does. She's got a caustic, kind of sarcastic sense of humor, and She can give as good as she gets. She is perfect for Picard. She's a crook. Okay, that one's a little problematic, maybe. But she's exciting. She's perfect for him. And she's not a bad kind of criminal, right? I mean, she obviously has a heart of gold. Depends on who you ask. She has a heart of gold. You people have missed that. I love her. Them together, in terms of my definition of these ships that I wanted to see more of. Really no doubt about it, because those two together is steamy. It's hot. They're going to go off on swashbuckling adventures together. And I love them. Bill, what's your take?
What you really mean to say is Picard and Nella Darren, right? Like that's what you really think deep down.
This isn't about that. Listen, I love him with Beverly. I love him with Anij. I don't love him with Neela Darren at all.
What?
All right. I love him with Neela Darren. I don't love him with Vash. I get some of the appeal. I think the way that it works best in my head is when I think about it from the lens of Picard in his past when he was a younger guy was more swashbuckling, more carefree, and Vash may be like some way for him to tap into that past and kind of get a little taste of that again. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a huge Captain's Holiday guy. I'm not a huge fan of that episode.
Well, I don't know. I'm editing all of that. They are perfect together. Shar, any quick take on Picard and Vash?
Yeah, I think it brings out an interesting side of Picard, him with Vash. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is hot. However, Picard and Lieutenant Darren, yeah, they're hot too. Maybe we just want to see Picard make out. I don't know.
No, Picard with his mom, not so hot.
Well, no, wait. No, that's not what I said. Wait a minute.
That's
ew.
You're crazy.
No,
all right.
No.
So
she's bringing him tea. That's fine.
When I had you on this show, Bill, I forgot. I didn't even know this was going to be my number one, and I forgot that how opposite we are on this. So I'm sorry I called Neela Darren his mom. I didn't mean it.
Okay. She is not his mommy. We saw his mommy. She brought him tea, and it's great. They were not making out. Okay, so Picard and Vash. Yeah, it's exciting. It's adventurous. It's a little risque. I see the appeal. For sure.
Agreed.
I think you need to do some time at the mental health facility on Starbase 5. That's Spock.
I do.
From.
I do. So. All the time. They give me pills and I feel really happy, and then I leave and I come back when I'm not.
All right, let's get into some secondary. Shar, anything on your short list?
Oh, most definitely. Okay, how about Picard and Lieutenant Darren?
All right.
just to mess with Jim at this point. Also Picard and Vash. I had Data and Tasha.
Oh.
Yeah, come on. Fully functional. How can that not be a hashtag? Yeah. And how about Doc and Seven?
That's a great pick.
There was big feelings on one side of that relationship. That's why it did not make my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Also Trip and DePaul, which we discussed. And Odo and Kira, which amazingly did not make any of our lists.
Yeah, that one's kind of an interesting contention. I like it.
I didn't totally feel it.
Yeah,
I didn't at the time, but I feel it more now when I go back to it. I find myself falling into it a little more than I did back in the original run of the show.
Those are some great secondary systems picks. How about you, Bill? Anything on yours?
Some of the ones that got mentioned here. Janeway Chakotay was my first and foremost. Picard and Darren, as you know, Jim, I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
I can't believe we left Worf and Dax off. I think that's a pretty
that's a big hole.
Universally well liked. And I think I really like from Enterprise Archer and Captain Hernandez from the Columbia. I love the idea of the captains of the first 2 NX ships kind of being an item. Didn't go anywhere, but yeah.
Speaking of buddies, here we go.
Speaking of,
I mean, they're a little busy, but whenever they get together, anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have fit my speculative list too. I like it. So I have another one from Enterprise on my secondary system. It was my toughest cut. Ensign Cutler and Dr.
Oh, that's a great pick. I love it.
Super cute.
Yeah.
I love them together. Super cute. I also had Paris and Torres, but I didn't pick them because it's a fully fledged. I stayed away from in my Prime Directive. I'm gonna throw out there Garrick and Bashir, not because
Hell yeah!
I didn't really ever want to see them together, but come on, it was on the page. It was there.
Oh, dude.
Totally up for it. There's no doubt about it.
Totally ship them.
I would ship them. Yep, I would ship
for
them.
sure.
All right, then my special shout out, which you mentioned before, Shar, was the forlorn love of Nurse Chapel and Mr. Spock.
I mean, she made him soup, and soup is a painstaking endeavor. If you've ever tried to make it, it takes me way more time than meets the eye.
Yes. She used the replicator. Or the matter receiver. All right, and on my fanfic, not going to go there list that was never on the screener page, but I think they make a great couple, was T'Pau and T'Pol from...
Whoa!
Those two, I don't know.
Oh my gosh! You're bringing out the shit here. Wow, that is hot.
That is a total fanfic pick, which maybe we'll do on some other episode.
I know what you're reading, Jim. Oh my god, that's great. But you know what? I mean, really, Amok Time was the genesis of fanfic. I mean, Kirk and Spock alone. That spawned so much fun fanfic in the 70s and thereafter, leading to everything else we had from that point forward. Let's not forget that.
So true.
Yes.
All right. That was an awesome celebration of some deep cut Trek relationships. So let's start cooling off by getting into our regeneration cycle.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, let's recap our picks. Shar, what's your top 5 picks?
All right. Number 5 was Picard and Crusher. Number 4 was Culber and Stamets. Number 3, Kirk and Edith Keeler. Number 2, Tom Paris and B'Elanna Torres. Number 1, Janeway and Chakotay.
Fantastic list. You had 2 from Voyager, 1 from TOS, 1 from TNG, and 1 from Discovery. So Discovery represented. I love it. Bill, how about you? Your top 5.
I had number 5, Ben Sisko and Cassidy Yates. Number 4, Trip Tucker and T'Pol. Number 3, James T. Kirk and Edith Keeler. Number 2, Jean-Luc Picard and Beverly Crusher. And number 1, Tom Paris and B'Elanna Torres.
Awesome list. And you spread it all around here. You got 1 from each of the OG series. So original series, Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise all represented on your list. My top 5 was Chakotay and 7, C7 Forever, from Voyager and Natural Law, the episode. From TNG, Conundrum, Riker and Ro together. My number 3 pick was Looking for Parmok in All the Wrong Places, Deep Space Nine, Quark and Grilka. Number 2 pick, Spock and Uhura from the original series and episode Charlie X. And my number 1 pick, my all-time number 1 ship, I love them, Picard and Vash, Captain's Holiday in The Next Generation. Okay, here are some stats. This is pretty great. We had they pretty well spread out. We did not have a Kelvin timeline pick, but we did have 1 Discovery pick, 1 Enterprise pick, 2 from Deep Space Nine, 3 from the original series, and then 4 each from The Next Generation and Voyager. And we had 2 characters mentioned 3 times. We had 3 overall duplicates. Actually, you guys had 3 duplicate picks. That's amazing. Yeah. I would never have thought of that for a topic like this. But we had 3 characters mentioned 3 times, and that was Jean-Luc Picard and Chakotay. So both of those characters
wow.
Amazing.
Mentioned, and
who would have thought?
We love that. We love it. Okay, as we do every week, we've again entered a temporal causality loop. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
The Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop. And I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
All right, so this is going to be another quick visit into the temporal causality loop, because in a second they're going to talk again about our 50 episodes of TrekRanks sweepstakes. But before we do, I want to highlight one awesome list that we got for episode 48 in our top 5 chill-inducing moments. We got so much great feedback from everyone on that show. It was just great. We got, I think, close to like 50 different lists, so a lot.
Wow.
I'm just going to highlight one list, but I think I might highlight a few more in a future episode because there's so many great ones. But want to get through this one quick. It is from John Fuchsius on Twitter, who is at John Fuchsius Online. And he included a complete 5 words and hashtag summaries on his list, which I thought was great. His number 5 for top 5 chill-inducing moments, Borg Queen's best entrance ever, hashtag welcome home, the final scene of Dark Frontier Part 1. Love that pick. Number 4, I really love this one. It is 5 words and a hashtag 5, 4, 3, 2, yes! Hashtag they trusted me and I killed them. It was the entire episode of Timeless.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Nice. Yay, Harry.
Exactly. Harry's Number 3 from Far Beyond the Stars, 5 words and a hashtag. I created it. It's real. Hashtag Benny's Breakdown. Number 2. Don't you think I know that? Hashtag there was, but not anymore. And it's Decker's Breakdown from the Doomsday Machine. And number 1, which I actually just mentioned because of Char's awesome pick. This is great that this lined up from What's Past is Prologue in Discovery. Hashtag thanks you, open your eyes. Fantastic pick for top 5 chill.
Good stuff.
Moment. So great. All right, so let me break down again our 50 episodes of TrekRanks sweepstakes.
And what better place to do that than here in the temporal causality loop? So first, let me run through the prize package of what we're doing. And it's pretty solid. We got a lot of stuff to give away. It's one big grand prize winner we'll take home. Here's a quick rundown. Fantastic Starfleet Academy Letterman's jacket, size extra large. So hopefully you got someone that will fit. A model from the Eagle Moss Starship Collection, the Argo shuttle from Star Trek Nemesis. We've also got the awesome Star Trek Origins Blu-ray release with a handful of episodes on it from the original series. We've got a Mirror Universe Tribble, a Starship Enterprise bottle opener, a Mego Sulu action figure. That one's not in the box, but it's basically brand new. An awesome set of Star Trek glassware, a Star Trek t-shirt, size large. We've got one of those really nice Discovery Command badges with the magnetic clasp from QMX. And if all that wasn't enough, the awesome guys over at Fansets heard we were doing this sweepstakes and volunteered a prize package of some great Fanset pins. So we'll include those as well, including Stamets, Colbert, Laurel, and lots more. So it's a great package, and your chances of winning are pretty good. So here's how we're gonna do this. So we've never really done anything like this before, and listen, let me be clear. I don't do this show for clicks or likes or prominence or anything like that. I think that's pretty clear. It's just kind of a DIY love affair with Trek, because as you know, I love talking about Star Trek. But everyone keeps telling me that I should be pushing people to leave reviews and whatnot because it helps people find the show. So I decided this one time I'm going to ask everyone that wants to enter the sweepstakes to do that as part of the contest. So here are the 3 steps to enter the 50 episodes TrekRanks sweepstakes. Okay, first, go somewhere and leave us a review about how you feel about the show. iTunes or whatever podcast service you use to listen to the show. Leave us a review, but also as part of that review, I want you to leave us your top 5 favorite TrekRanks topics through 50 episodes. Because this is TrekRanks. That's what I want to hear about. I care more about that than your love or hate of the show. But of course, you can leave that too. But yeah, so leave us your top 5 favorite TrekRanks topics wherever you find and listen to your podcast. And by the way, if you want to send us those on Twitter too, I'd love to get those. But that won't enter you in the contest. It needs to be like on iTunes Review or wherever you get your podcast. All right, step 2. Also, include in your review your answer to this question. In episode 49 of TrekRanks, which was our countdown of top 5 courtroom showdowns, how many times did I play the dun-dun sound from Law & Order? You know the one. All right, I've added this step in here to make this more than just a blind luck contest. So if you listen to episode 49 and tell me how many times you hear that Law & Order sound effect, then at the very least, your odds are pretty greatly increased to win this contest. All right, and finally, step 3, you need to send me a link about where you left this review, and you need to do that on Twitter, because if you don't tell me on Twitter, trust me, I'm never going to see it. I'm not looking for that stuff. So the only way you're going to officially enter this is if I see that review. So link me on Twitter, and only one entry per person. All right, so if you do all of those things, you'll be entered in our 50 episodes of TrekRanks sweepstakes. And as the only other little qualifier to all that, I'll say that if more than one person gets the exact right answer on that Law & Order drop, then we'll draw lots on who's the grand prize winner. And yes, we're doing this worldwide. I'm going to send this package to whoever wins, no matter where they are in Sector 001.
And we're going to run this contest through the launch of episode 52 of TrekRanks. So the deadline to enter is the end of the day on stardate March 21, 2019. And again, if you missed any of that, just hit that 30-second rewind button a couple of times. You can listen to it again. All right, so hopefully we'll get a lot of you guys entering our contest. And as always, we can't wait to hear from you. We want to get your list, so send them to us at TrekRanks. We can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you, so please put together your own list of top 5 ships, as in relationships, and give us a call. Tell us your list. Call us at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. That's 609-512-LLAP. So hopefully we'll hear from you, so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we are continuing my favorite series that we do here, and that is our top 5 scenes in a blank. We've previously done scenes in a turbolift, scenes in a Jeffries tube, scenes in a shuttlecraft, and now we're going to do top 5 scenes in a brig. So Char and Bill, anything jumping out at you quickly that you would put on your list of top 5 scenes in a brig? Char, what do you got?
What about Burnham in her brig when all she sees is empty space? Because this crap is about to collapse.
That's a great choice.
Such a great pick. I'm sure I would have thought of that when I start breaking down this list. Oh, that is definitely in the running for my list. Awesome. Bill, maybe that one's hard to top. What do you got? Anything?
This is weird. The first thing that popped into my head when you said that was Data with Kivas Fajo at the end of The Most Poised.
The first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Spoiler alert, I might have a tough time keeping both of those off my list.
That's great.
No, that's Kivas Fajo.
Oh, I got another one. Do you want it, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Tom Paris in 30 Days. Writing about his experience. That montage. Hell yeah.
Yep, for sure that one's going to be a popular pick. All right. So before we close up shop on this very special 2-part episode of TrekRanks, I want to give a huge thanks to Charlynn, Schmiedt, and Bill Mann for going the distance with us. It's our top 5 ships. Thanks, guys. Any final Trek thoughts or ships thoughts before we wrap this up?
I ship it all, baby. I just love it. Send your fanfics to Oh the Profanity at Twitter. No, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Jim, for having me. This was a fantastic double header, and I'm so honored that you had me on for these 2 episodes. I had a lot of fun creating these lists. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth. I really tried to think these things through, even though maybe the end result was not terribly unpredictable. I still had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Perfect list. We love it. Bill?
Yeah, I can't thank you enough. Huge honor to be here for episodes 50 and 51. That feels big, and I really appreciate you asking me to be a part of it. both of these topics were really tough because they're so core to like what Star Trek is, the ships and the relationships between the characters. So it's so many options.
So many. I love it. Great having. I'm really glad I had you guys on for this episode 50. Could not have been two better people for these topics. And all right, let's wrap it up as I do every week. I want to thank everyone for engaging with us here on episode 51 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
What is so funny about man reaching for the moon?
How do you know?
I just know, that's all. I feel it. And more, I think that one day they're going to take all the money that they spend now on war and death
And make them spend it on life.
Yes.
Hi there, thanks again for listening. If you're cruising the galaxy looking for even more Trek talk, why not visit our good friends Bill and Dan over at TrekGeeks.com? They've got a great podcast that covers a wide range of Star Trek topics, so you're sure to find something you'll love. And if you're in the mood for some awesome tunes, then you really need to head over to 5yearmission.net. The guys are writing a song for every episode of the original series, and each one is absolutely brilliant. So that's TrekGeeks.com and 5yearmission.net. Check them out today.
You're enjoying yourself, aren't you?
Yes.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
Good. Now, let's get some sleep.
I'll never forget that look on your face when you thought I was offering you Chimaharon.
No, that was a simple misunderstanding.
You did seem a little disappointed when I turned you down.
You are outrageous.